Hello, hello! Welcome back to my channel. I'm Samantha Winona and this is Winona Reads. Today I'm going to be doing the first part of my January classic. So I picked up because this was on my December TBR and I didn't get to it. So my first classic read of this month is Franny and Zooey by JD Salinger, and I have about 70 pages left. I'm at like 105. I don't know why I'm yelling. It's definitely different than I expected. So when I first purchased it, without even knowing anything about it, I just knew that like it's mentioned so many times in other places and I just figured I should pick it up. So when I, decided to get it and read like a synopsis, because there's nothing on the back. So I assumed it was a love story and then thought maybe it would be about like friendship, and it's just something completely entirely different, but I like it. At times it's a little confusing, but I think that's the point of it. And I don't want to go into too much detail until I do the wrap up of it, since I do have a little bit of it left. Sorry, my daughter is all of a sudden trying to walk down the stairs by herself without holding on to anything, and she's not even 2 yet, so it's like mini heart attacks every time I see her going down the stairs. Can you sit on your butt? Can you sit on your butt? She's Miss Independent. I don't know where she learned it from. Hi. Okay, so anyway, like I said, I don't want to go into too much detail right now just because I do have a little bit left, but I did want to kind of do, what are they called, like a little montage, I guess, of making the drink for this book, and then kind of like a relaxing night tonight. And then once I finish this, I'm aiming to finish this tonight. So if I finish this tonight, I will do a wrap up this weekend, and I also want to start Catcher in the Rye by JD Salinger, which will be an entirely different drink. And I actually think that my husband would probably join me, not in reading the book, but with making the drinks for Catcher in the Rye, because I found a good bourbon drink, and we both are like bourbon whiskey drinkers. Today's drink is going to be a gin drink, but this is just what I had in the fridge, and I just wanted to do something and kind of like do a cheers and then hopefully finish the book tonight, and then start Catcher in the Rye and have a little whiskey this weekend. So yeah, cheers to the weekend. So first, why does this always happen to me? Okay, first of all, okay, let's start over. First of all, I wanted to, it's been so scattered. Okay, so I finished Franny and Zooey, and then I started reading a different book, and then a different book, and then I went to Catcher in the Rye, and now I'm like in between 3 different books. So what I want to do is close out this vlog with what I thought about Franny and Zooey, and how so far I think I'm like halfway through Catcher in the Rye. So I wanted to update as far as like what I thought about Franny and Zooey and what I feel about going into this one. And then for my January wrap up, I will discuss like the end of Catcher in the Rye and then the other stuff that I read and listened to this month. So let's get into it. So yes, I finished Franny and Zooey by JD Salinger. So I liked it. It definitely wasn't what I had expected, and I think I did like a small update, but I couldn't like very much articulate what I was trying to say. So it definitely is, I think, one of his tropes, kind of existential, like spiritual, kind of soulful person, like the difference between people that just think the money, you know, the world revolves around money, and like stature and who you know kind of thing, and then the people that realize that life like has a deeper purpose, but like how do we find that, how do we find who we are, that kind of thing. So Franny and Zooey starts off with Franny, and it goes into, or yeah, it starts off with Franny. She visits her boyfriend Lane, who's in college, and he's like, I guess you would say pretentious. He, you know, talks about himself and then like gets upset and flustered with her, and then she gets upset and flustered and like seems to have a panic attack about sort of what I was just saying, like thinking, you know, him and his world, this group of friends are more like focused on their egos and like what they're accomplishing. She sort of like had like an inward glance, like, what do I really want to do? What are my teachers teaching me at my school? Where do I go from here, kind of thing. And it's definitely something that I feel like everyone goes through, and I think it was written rather well. Like I think it transcends through generations. Like I understood her point of view. Excuse my kids, and they're supposed to be cleaning their room, aka they're all jumping on the beds and screaming. Honestly, I wish there was more of the Franny part. It does carry into Zooey's part because Zooey's her brother, and it like talks about how like she comes home from college and is just like very melancholy. She, you know, is listless and like lays on the couch, and there's a couple family dynamics, like her other brother committed suicide a couple of years back, and there definitely is more to it. I don't know, for some reason I enjoyed Franny's part better than Zooey's. But I think Zooey's gave like a more in-depth as far as like family, to see, I guess, more like behind the scenes, like why maybe she would feel that way, kind of thing. What her upbringing was like. Overall, I think I rated it either 3.75 or 4 out of 5. And like I said, I think this sort of trope, I think that this trope is definitely something that I also see very prevalent in Catcher in the Rye, just starting off the bat. So, like I said, I think I'm less than halfway through Catcher in the Rye, but I read like a good majority of it last night, and it's definitely like a stream of consciousness. Like you're following Holden's point of view and his like thoughts, which can be like scattered at times. So like sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, this tangent, and then he like goes back to what he was talking to, and so like that, it's interesting because I like seeing like the character in that way. Like I like kind of getting inside their brain and like seeing the way that they see things, but sometimes it was a little like confusing, and I think it'll stay in that kind of narration. My kids. yeah, I love it so far. I honestly feel like I will probably rate Catcher in the Rye higher than Franny and Zooey. It's hard. I feel like I really liked the Franny part, like part 1, and then it just ended kind of abruptly, and I would have rather had it reversed. Like, I would have rather had less of like Zooey in like the bathtub scene with his mom. Like, that felt like it took on forever. But I would rather have less of that and more of like Franny's existential crisis, or like early midlife breakdown. Like, she's only in college, but like I think we've all had a point like that where we're like, who really am I? Or know going into it what you want to do for your life. Like, you know, I took English in school, so like that kind of, like how she was talking about, I keep saying like, I'm sorry, how Franny was discussing with Lane, but they were talking about how, I think it was her poetry teacher maybe, that was like her avenue that she wanted to go down, and then she started realizing that like the stuff that they were saying just didn't seem poetic, or like didn't seem like authentic, I guess, or genuine. Now someone's crying. What's wrong?
I just heard this.
Let me see. What'd you land on? The Paw Patrol tower? Okay, so maybe we should be careful and stop jumping? I'll be right down. Okay, I think I'm gonna close out with that, just because I feel like, one, this vlog has taken like 2 weeks because I started Catcher in the Rye and then got like just disconnected and into other stuff. So definitely recap with how I feel about everything for my January wrap up. Definitely starting the year off good, like picking Salinger for January. Say hi.
Hi. Hi. Hi. Hi. Yeah,
All right. I do have a idea for February. Actually, a couple different ideas as far as the classic, and then also, you know, kind of like a Valentine's Day vibe. So stay tuned for that. And I also have a book haul coming. Probably gonna be my last until September because I just need to save money. And I also have kind of big life news, so stay tuned. I'm gonna go stop my kids from wrestling and hurting each other. Bye.